Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Ashe, and I am the founder of BreakBeatCode at Google. And I'm really excited for you to be joining us today for the intro to BreakBeatCode. So we have teachers, classroom students joining us from all around the world. So far, we're expecting at least 13 different countries to be represented, probably more. And so we pre-recorded this session to allow people to join whenever they could, so to make it very flexible. And we will have live Q&A, so you can see the live Q&A section below. And me and my colleagues on the BreakBeatCode team at Google will be answering your questions in that live chat. So trying to give you both the advantage of starting and stopping whenever you want. We'll also be able to ask questions, troubleshoot, and share any feedback along the way. So we've got a tight time because we're trying to fit it into your classroom schedule. So I'll just go ahead and get started. And so I'll be sharing my screen. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to the BreakBeatCode curriculum. This is a free curriculum to teach coding through music production. We've taught students all around the world, and so far, 37,000 students in over 43 countries. And we're really excited to bring this to you today. So without further ado, I'll share my screen and I will kick off the session. And at any point along the way, you can just click the pause button. If you have any challenges, again, below on the screen, you will see that there's a live Q&A section, and that's where you can ask those questions. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so I'll be switching between slides and the programming environment we're going to be using called earsketch. And during today's session, we'll teach you how to build beats writing code. We'll teach you how to code in Python, which is one of the most popular programming languages in the world. It's a key skill for many job opportunities in tech, including AI, machine learning, and data science. And it's going to give you the start of a foundation in coding skills. And the really fun part of that, and this is the whole reason we love BreakBeatCode, is that we're going to teach you how to create your first remix with code, and no prior coding experience is required. So the first thing we're going to do before you get into the actual exercise is we're going to do a quick tour of earsketch. So earsketch is a platform developed first at Georgia Tech, and its sole purpose is to teach coding through music production. And that's the platform we use. It's a free platform. You'll be able to access it today. You won't need to create an account with earsketch. You can if you want, but many schools have policies that have some restrictions on creating accounts. So we've designed today's session so you don't need to create an account. And we're just going to show you what this tool looks like, and then we're going to kind of walk through the different elements of it and do a brief demo. Okay, so you don't need to go here yet. I'm going to share the example code, and that'll bring you to earsketch. But just so you know, you'll be visiting this site. It's called earsketch.gatech.edu. And it has these different elements of the user interface, what we call the UI. The first element is the code editor, and that's your workspace where you're going to write lines of code. And when you click the run button, what you'll see is the sounds that you choose will be displayed at the top of the screen. Now, the top of the screen, that's called a digital audio workstation, or DAW. So what that does, it allows a music producer like you to move sounds around, decide what the different layers of the sounds are going to be, chop them up in different ways, add effects. That's a DAW. Now, most of the producers, the music producers out there, so the people that work with Taylor Swift and Post Malone and Beyonce and all the artists you listen to today, those producers, the people actually manipulating the sounds, they're dragging and dropping those sounds. They're using sort of like what we call a GUI. They're like moving the different blocks around. What you're going to be doing the same thing, but you're going to be doing that with code, which is pretty mind-blowing. And you'll hit the play button. We show what that looks like in a minute. And on the left-hand side, this is where you're going to take your sounds. And by your sounds, I mean we have sounds from Alicia Keys and Common and Pharrell and Jay-Z and all these different artists have just donated their sounds so that you can then remix them. You can even publish them to SoundCloud if you want. You can't monetize them, mainly because Jay-Z and others, they have lawyers and copyright laws. So the purpose of today's session, though, is just to show you how you can make your own remix using their beats, which is super exciting. And then on the right-hand side, we have this curriculum section. And that's where we have the earsketch, their built-in curriculum is in there. So that's the platform has its own curriculum. And we provide a curriculum to give you a different way of using the same tool. Okay, so this is where the super fun part starts. Okay, and so you can go to, and this is where I'm going to pause and give you more time to get there. You can go to intro.breakbeatcode.com. That's intro.breakbeatcode.com. And I'm going to pause here for a moment and give you the opportunity to go there because, everyone's getting onto their computer right now, and I'm just going to pause. And of course, on your side, because this is pre-recorded, you can pause at any time. And you can also check the Q&A in case you have any questions there. And that's just below. So intro.breakbeatcode.com. All right. I'm going to open that up in a different window and show you what you should expect when you get there. That's intro.breakbeatcode.com. Okay. And I'm actually going to open this up in an incognito window so you get a better idea of what that looks like when you're logging in, because we're not going to expect you to log in, like create a user account. Okay. All right. So the first step here, once you've reached intro.breakbeatcode.com, and I'm just going to sort of switch between the slides here. The first thing we want you to do is click the import to edit button. Okay. And that's that button right there below the run button. Okay. Backing up again, intro.breakbeatcode.com. And then you get there and you'll see that button. It says import to edit. We want you to click that. And so I'm going to, again, switch between, showing you the slides and then showing you actually how to do the thing. So when you do it, that button will disappear. Okay. That's all we want you to do. And then we want you to hit the run button. And then you're going to see this sound up here. Okay. So you've hit the import to edit button, you hit the run button, and then we're going to have you hit the play button. Okay. You're going to do that again. Click import to edit right there. Okay. And then listen to the run button. Click the run button. And then click the green triangle to play your track. And here we go. And this is what it sounds like. Okay. So let's break down what's happening here. So you'll see in the screen below right here, you'll see that little section of code. That's where all the magic happens. And this thing that the code editor, the language is called Python. And what Python does, it actually interprets the line of code, line by line. So I think many of you in the audience probably speak two languages, especially overseas. So for example, in the US, many of our Spanish-speaking students, they'll speak Spanish and English. They probably have the opportunity to translate for their parents, guardians, grandparents, people in their community. And just the way you would translate English to Spanish and Spanish to English, that you would interpret line by line. So someone would say something and then you interpret it into the next language. Same thing with Python. It's simply interpreting line by line, reading each line of code, and then it executes it, just follows the instructions. And so what's happening here, you'll see it basically has there's 5 lines of code that says sound equals this sound. We'll explain what that means. Track equals 1, start equals 1, end equals 20. You don't need to understand any of this yet, okay? We're going to explain everything to you. But you have these different things called sound, track, start, and end. We're going to show you what that means. And then you have this magic piece of code, which we'll explain, called fit medium. And what that does, it takes whatever sound you tell it, you, and it puts it whatever track you give. In this case, track is 1. It tells you where to start it. That's something called a measure, which we'll explain in a minute. And where it ends, also called a measure. And if you give it that information, it's going to then take your sound. It's going to put it on this thing called track 1. It's going to start it at what we call measure 1, and it's going to end on measure 20. So it's simply taking whatever values you give it, follow those instructions, put whatever sound you tell it to put on the track that you specify where to start, where to stop. Let's break this down. Ready? Okay. What's a track? Think of a track like a train track. Train tracks allow multiple trains to go side by side at the same time or at different times without running into each other. Tracks in ear sketch means that multiple sounds can be played at the same time or at different times without bumping into each other, without sort of overlapping. That's what a track is. Simply think of it like a train track for sounds. And then we have this concept of beats and measures. What's a beat? Well, if you've been in music class where they count off the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. That beat that they're counting off, that's like the heartbeat of the sound, okay? And it's just it goes at a certain pace. A lot of the pop music you hear, you'll hear 120 beats per minute is a typical pace of a song, and it's also called 120 BPM. So each beat in your song. What's a measure? A measure is simply for those beats. So you'll see in ear sketch, it has these gray lines. Each vertical gray line is a beat. And then a measure is just 4 beats. That's all it is. So a beat is like that heartbeat in music. In ear sketch, every gray line right here, every vertical gray line is a beat. And then every 4 beats is a measure. So you'll see it counts off 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So think of if you have 1,000 meters in a kilometer, if you have 12 inches in a foot, those are just different ways of measuring distance. In music, a measure is just a way of measuring time in music, and specifically, it's measuring the number of beats. Okay, and that's so different artists can say like, okay, come in, I want your vocals to come in on measure 5. So it's a way to communicate with the other people who you're making music with. All right, then we got this thing called sound in track and start and end, like those different words. I want everyone to repeat after me. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with all you at the same time, but I'd love to hear you say this. So if you repeat after me, variables are like a name tag, okay? Variables are like a name tag. Simply put, variables are like name tags for different values in code. So in this case, sound is a variable, track's a variable, start's a variable, and end's a variable. It simply just points to that sound. The same way if I was wearing a name tag that said Richard, it's sort of pointing to me. I could also say Coach Richard. I could say Richard Ashe. Those are all different name tags. They all just point to me if that's the value. All right. Same thing with soundtrack start and end. These are just variables. It's just a way to make your code a lot easier to read. And I may actually make it easier to update, which we'll show you how to do that. All right. So let's just break down our code real quickly. So we got sound equals common love drum beat 1. That is the sound that's going to be played. It's going to be played on track 1. It's starting at measure 1. And then it's ending at measure 20. And this code called fit media, I want you to think about that as like ordering a pizza. Okay. So when you think about ordering a pizza, what do you need to do? Let's assume you're doing it sort of the old way of calling for pizza and picking it up. What do you need to give them? You have to give them your name, your phone number, the size of pizza, and the type of pizza. And if you give them that information, you'll get a pizza. You'll be able to pick it up. If you just say, "My name's Richard and I want cheese," they're like, "Okay, Richard, give me your phone number." And I assume you meant cheese is the topping on your pizza. Is it a large pizza? So they're going to tell me to back up from the top and tell me name, phone number, size, and pizza topping. So I got to give them that information. I actually have to give it to them in that order. Same thing with Fit Media. It's like ordering pizza, except instead you're telling the computer, I want you to take this sound, I want you to put it on track one, starting at measure one, ending on 20. And it's like a function. That's what it's called. You can also use the term algorithm. So everyone after me, say function. Okay, and I can hear hundreds and thousands of students around the world all saying function at the same time. Thank you very much. And so functions are simply reusable code that repeats the same instructions, the same way you can repeat the instructions for ordering a pizza. Okay. All right. And that's when we hit the run button. It reads line by line. And what's actually happening in the background is it's saving each value in memory. So there's actually this place in the computer with memory, and you can think of it as like a table. So it says like, okay, and it's not like this is AI in this case. All it's doing, so it's not like something super advanced. It's simply just following instructions. You say, okay, you're telling me when I see sound, you mean this sound. When I see track, you mean the number one. When I say start, you mean the number one. And when I say end, you mean the number 20. And then I'm just going to take those four things and then put that on track one. Okay. All right. So the sound is on track one. It's starting on measure one. It's ending on 20. And the sound file is just played in a loop. So you've heard my explanation about all this stuff. Now let's actually get you to, before we get to this part, I want you all to go into earsketch. You've already imported to edit. And now this is the fun part. All I want you to do is start by deleting this sound right here. Okay? Just delete that sound. So it should say sound equals blank. I'm going to pause so everyone can catch up with that. So feel free to click the pause button, and I'll just keep going. On the left-hand side, so you might not see this, you can just go right there. And I'm going to give us some more space so we can see our code. I'm just going to click this button to make this disappear for now. And then I see all these different sounds over here. These are just different artists. And so you have artist, you have genres, that's just a category of music, and you have the instruments, the bass, drums, piano, strings, etc. I want you, for example, to just go into this section right here, click on instruments, and go ahead and click on drums. And I'm going to go ahead and pick some drums in here. You can pick whatever drums you want. Let's see what this sounds like. I like that. So the current sound is this. And now I'm going to update it with that sound. You can choose whatever sound you want. I'm going to give you time to do that. And let me just show you again what you do there is all I want you to do is click this blue button, paste to editor. Okay? I'm going to do that one more time. So I've deleted what I had in there before was this sound. I'm just going to delete that right there. And then I'm going to click the blue button next to the sound I want in my script. So you have your blinking cursor right there. You click the blue button. Boom, there's your sound. Now I want you to hit the run button. Okay. So if you followed those instructions, I'm going to repeat them again. Let's go back. What I did was I deleted the sound. I hit paste editor and I hit run. There we go. So we got our first sound on our first track. Okay. So I've now updated that variable. So in other words, now sound equals this new sound. I hit run and now I play it. Pretty cool, right? Okay. So hopefully everyone at this point has chosen a sound, but we're going to go ahead and hit pause. Give yourself the opportunity now to update your sound for the first time. So choose a sound on the left-hand side, find one you like. We're going to repeat the instructions again. And it looks like this. I'm going to delete that. And I'm just repeating this to make it clear. And then I'm going to click this blue button right here. I'm going to zoom way in. So I found the sound I like, which is this sound. And then I have sound equals, and I just click that blue button. There we go. And I hit run. Okay. So hit pause when everyone had the opportunity to catch up. Okay. Okay. So you've already put one sound on one track. If you've gotten that far, that's awesome. So you're already becoming artist engineers, combining engineering skills with artistic creativity. And if that's as far as you go, that's totally cool. You can join the rest of the session later on your own time or in a follow-up class. And thanks so much for joining us. If you still got more time, the next section, we're going to add more sounds on more tracks. So hope you have fun. Bye. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the next fun part. Okay. So everyone at this point, and again, hit pause if you need some more time, but I'll assume you've unpaused and you're ready to go. So what we're going to do next is we're going to keep on coding, and we're actually going to go to the next line. Let me show you what that looks like. So I want to actually get one sound on one track. That doesn't really make a full remix. But you've already started coding. Like you've already updated this code. You're already doing the thing. And that's amazing. Many of you have not coded before. And when I first started coding, it literally was doing something just like this. I simply updated a single value, and it blew my mind that I could write some text and it would do a thing on the computer. That was the coolest thing ever. And so you're already starting coding, and that's a very big part of it. It's just like just updating and maintaining code. So we're going to show you the next part. I'm going to switch back over to the slides. And now what we want you to do is just hit the return button on your keyboard so that you have some space. And then you're going to see sound equals, or you're going to type rather sound equals. Okay. So it's just below the code that you have there. Type in sound equals. Okay. And on the next line, so it's sound equals, and then we're going to want to choose a sound. So I'm zooming in this case. Just find a sound you like, and then click the blue button next to it. So again, I've just gone down, like hit the return button, the enter button twice, typed in the words sound equals. So what you're doing is you're going to update the variable called sound, because the interesting thing about Python is just like reading a book, it reads from top to bottom, like line by line. Okay. So it reads line by line. All right. So sound equals. And you're going to click this button next to the sound that you like, just like you did before. And then when you click that blue button, now you have your sound. So in my case, I chose sound equals AK undog add one, okay? Which is basically, it's going to be like a synthesizer is what it's going to sound like. Now, this is the below that, I'm now going to type the next 3 lines of code. So track equals 2, start equals 5, and then the words fit media, and then parentheses, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. Okay? So just below sound equals, and that's sound, type in track equals 2, start equals 5, and then go fit media, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that with live coding over here. So I'm going to switch back to this screen. I'm going to show you actually how I'm doing it while you are figuring out what sound you want to put there. I'm going to say sound equals. I'm going to go in here and I actually found that you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just go into here. I'm going to put on keyboard this time. This is how I found it. And let's go, let's see. And actually, I even filtered by artist. So I think I did Alicia Keys. Let's go to the add there. So I said, okay, I'll go to, let me find it. Where can I put it? It's going to be synth. Oh, there it is. That's the one I wanted. So you can just filter, like just click these different buttons here. I can decide, okay, I want Alicia Keys and I want the synthesizer for Alicia Keys. That's how I found that sound. Okay. And I go boom, and it's in my script. Okay. So I'm going to go track equals 2, start equals 5. Oh, and a little trick here, you might want to just click that little gear button to turn off the autocomplete. So that can sometimes get in your way. All right. And now I've got fit media in sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. Okay. And now you can hit the run button. And now I have 2 sounds and 2 tracks. So I'm going to jump. And now this is what my track is going to look like, sound like. I'm going to go in, go back to the slides and show you how to do this again. I'm just going to show you what this sounds like. Ready? Here we go. All right. So I'm going to go back to the slides. I'm going to show you how to do that one more time. But again, you're going to just beneath the code above, I'm going to just share the screen. Okay, so we had the code, that first block of code, the first 5 lines of code. We hit the enter button twice. This is just to make it easier to read. We typed in sound equals. We found a sound we liked. We hit that blue button. And now we had sound equals and the sound we chose. And then we had below that, I just typed in track equals 2, start equals 5. And then it says fit media in parentheses, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. Okay. And then I hit the run button. Okay. And again, this is a good opportunity to just pause the video. Okay. So that everyone can look at that example. Sound equals AK undog pad 1. That was just the sound I chose. Track equals 2. Start equals 5. And fit media. Sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. Okay. So separated by commas. All right. And click the run button. And then you'll hear your sound play. Okay. So what's happened? The Python interpreter read the code top to bottom. You updated the variables for sound, track, start You didn't actually update end, okay? And let's explain why. If all it did is it followed the instructions to place the sound you selected on track 2, starting at measure 5. And in our case, we decided not to update end. So why does it end at 20? We actually didn't update end. So I'll give everyone a few moments to try to guess. Extra points if you get this one right. So what about end? Why does it end at 20? So the reason it ends at 20 is because we didn't update end. In other words, it's sort of like I wrote a piece of paper and I said end equals 20, and I hand that to you. I said, track equals 1, start equals 1, handed that to you. And those are all the variables. And then I went ahead and said, you know what, take that piece of paper that says track equals 1 and just go ahead and throw it away. Because now I'm going to tell you track equals 2. You just kind of throw away that other piece of paper. And so now you just have track equals 2. And you said, okay, well, actually take that other piece of paper that says start equals 1. Just throw that away. Because now start equals 5. You still have the paper that says end equals 20. So when I say like read off the papers to me, you're going to say, well, now I have a paper that says track equals 2. I've got another piece of paper that says start equals 5. And I still have the old piece of paper that says end equals 20. In other words, you didn't update it, or I didn't give you a new piece of paper, so it still equals 20. Same thing with your code. You didn't update end still equals 20. All right? So now the question is, how do you place a new sound on track 3, starting at measure 5, and ending at measure 20? So how do we place a new sound on track 3, starting at measure 5, and ending at measure 20? I'm going to give everyone a chance to think about that. This thing's reading top to bottom. I know so far that all I need to do to put something on track 2 was just update the value for sound, update the value for track, and update the value for start, because everything ends at 20, so I didn't have to update the variable for end. So now I want a third track. I want a new sound. So I'm going to need to update sound. I'm going to need to update track. And then I wanted to start on 5 and end on 20. So let's think about what I actually need to write down in my code. Here we go. Well, I just type in sound equals. I found a sound I like. And I click that blue button again for the sound I like. This one's this new sound. It's actually vocals in this case. And so now my code is going to look like this: sound equals and this new sound. What do you think the next line of code is going to be? Just look at the previous examples. If I want to put on track 3, what should I do? I simply go to the next line of code and I say, okay, well, track equals 3, right? Because it's just reading top to bottom. And the same way I told you to get rid of that old piece of paper that said track equals 1, here's the new piece of paper that says track equals 2. Same thing here. I'm just saying, okay, track no longer equals 2. You've already put a sound on track 2. Now track equals 3. And then I just type in fit media, soundtrack, start and end. Just like I'm calling a pizza, I'm just calling that function. Fit media, in parentheses, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. Okay. And the magic happens again. I got a third sound on a third track. So again, I just type in sound equals my new sound, track equals 3, and then I type that same. I can even copy and paste if I want. Fit media, capital M for media, and parentheses, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. I'll let you pause so you can catch up. You can go find your sound that you want to play. Sound equals, and you put your sound there. Track equals 3 in this case. Fit media, in parentheses, sound, comma, track, comma, start, comma, end. In parentheses, okay? So go ahead and you can pause the video. Okay, let everyone catch up. So they got their third sound on the third track. Okay. All right. And click the run button. I'm going to show you my demonstration of me doing the same exact thing. Right? I'm going to go over here. I'm just follow the instructions I just gave you. Say okay. I want to update the value for sound. And I really like keeping with Alicia Keys. So I filtered on that. I went and shows the vocals. And what was that sound? It was like oohs ahs. Yeah, there we go. I think I decided to use this one. Sounds amazing. So I just typed in sound equals. I click that blue button right there, zooming way in. Right, that blue button right there. I go back, equals 3, and then fit media. You know what? Copy and paste is definitely a great way to code. Helps you avoid typos for one thing. So, and I hit the run button. Listen to my remix and let's break down what just happened. Right, so now I have 3 sounds on 3 tracks. Let's jump back over here. And let's look at what happened. Okay, so we have 3 sounds on 3 tracks. Why? Well, it's because all we need to do was update the value for sound, update the value for track, and update the value. And so that's all I needed to do. Why? Because I wanted it to start on 5 and end on 20. And right here we can see it starts on 5 and ends on measure 20. Because I just didn't update start, I didn't update end. Okay? In other words, when I ran this code, the current value of sound was this sound, that new sound I put there. The current value of track is track 3. The current value of start is 5, and the current value of end is 20. So that's the end of the session. If you made it all the way here in one session, that's amazing. But for many of you, probably ran out of time, so you can join us and come back later. This is all available on demand, and we'll be emailing you with more information on how you can take your coding skills to the next level. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you had a great time.